right. I know from other posts that the data in Ahrefs is often inaccurate, but how far off is expected slash acceptable? I ask because Ahrefs reports one of my site's monthly organic traffic to be about 10K. In actuality, it's 55K. I know that they don't track every single keyword. That's their reasoning. But is this normal inaccuracy? Yeah, these things can be wildly inaccurate. This is why,
That's a bit higher than usual. Usually it's like 3x that, 5.5, pretty high. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
yeah, you're right. It is pretty high, but it it all just depends on the data that Ahrefs has, right? And so, well, I guess I'll back up a little bit first. Normally, when people ask about a lot of the questions they have about the metrics and like Ahrefs or Moz, whatever, they're always asking about like DA or PA, DR, or something like that. And we always tell them, don't worry about these things. These are completely made up things, right? It's made up by Ahrefs to try to gauge a very difficult concept of authority. There's a lot that goes into that. And so, those metrics you can use them to like eyeball stuff and make quick like snap judgments on stuff, but it's generally advised that you look more into it. But then you get to the more like tangible stuff that you can actually measure. For example, keywords that you're ranking for or traffic that your site is getting. And so even then, even though, in general, you can put a little bit more trust in these things than, for example, like DR or DA or PA, something like that. They're still off because they're only as good as that specific company's crawlers are. And not only how good their crawlers are, but then you have something like traffic, which is a pure estimate. It's their estimate of how much traffic your site will be getting based on the keywords you're ranking for. So they're taking like percentages, like, oh, he's ranked number 5 for this term. So we estimate he's going to get X amount of traffic based on X amount of search volume. And the search volume is probably not exact. And so you start painting a picture that's obviously not going to ever be accurate because it will never be exact. 50.
And typically,
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
You can go.
Typically it's going to be much higher than what Ahrefs says as far as traffic goes, and keywords as well, right? Because Google's crawlers are far more advanced than Ahrefs crawlers. They've got way more money. It's what they do, right? But then on the same token, how much is acceptable? Well, Ahrefs is the best crawler that I've used. I use a couple other crawlers as well to kind of analyze how a site's doing, but Ahrefs is by far number one in my opinion. And so it's a tool that I'm going to use every day in conjunction with analytics, et cetera. But, especially when you're looking up competitors and stuff like that, just assume that typically it's going to be over what it says that site has. But if that's blanketed across the entire thing, then it's kind of null because it's still going to tell you what the top competitors are, et cetera. Now, on the opposite, recently, actually, this week, I was going over a site that's ripping in Ahrefs right now. It's doing so well. Lots of organic keywords coming. It showed that traffic was, increasing exponentially. And then when I go into Google Analytics, what the hell? It's tanking. So, what's going on? Oh my gosh. Well, no mystery there, right? Well, there's some mystery. I will explain it to you. It's in a niche where there's a slow season, right? And so Ahrefs doesn't take that kind of stuff into account, right? What it's doing, like Chris said, is basing traffic estimations based on what the average is across the year or however it's, positioned in its algorithm. And then it's giving you an estimate based off that, but it doesn't take slow season into account or anything like that if you're in like, let's say tourism niche or something like that.
Mhm.
So, you can find discrepancies that actually go lower, but that is very rare and it typically has to do with, certain items. So let's consider like Halloween, for example, right? You're going to get a spike 1 month out of the year, maybe two.
That's a good point. It doesn't take into account actual market conditions.
Correct.
It doesn't take into account other stuff like your actual click through rate. Like maybe you have horrible titles. Maybe your stuff doesn't match search intent at all.
Yep.
but you're still out there ranking, which
Mm-hmm.
happens all the time. Even though
Yeah.
people like to pretend it doesn't, you can still
No,
rank
it
very
does.
well without matching search intent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there can just be a ton of stuff that makes this stuff inaccurate. But like Nick was saying, Ahrefs is still like our bread and butter. You just have to understand that all of these tools, you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Be sure to check the description below for links to our blog for more info on this topic, along with a bunch of other cool stuff like case studies, our Facebook community, and our link building services. And like always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you enjoyed the video. Thanks and happy ranking.